And I remember praying for him, knowing that there'll be a day he'll talk for the last time in his voice. And at night, when I said my prayers, I wondered what would be the one thing I'd want to say to my Lord if I knew that's the last thing that would sound like me. He's been one of our patients at the clinic for a number of years. He was a hard-working man. He worked hard and had a family to raise, and so we didn't see him often. In March of this year, Mr. Driggers reappeared. His original complaint was a scratchy throat. Said he'd had a scratchy throat for a little while, and we were going to try to figure out what was going on with him. Mr. Driggers showed up to his appointed times for his imaging. For the first one, the thyroid ultrasound, well, we noticed there was something not quite right with it, and that worried me terribly. So on March 25th, he was scheduled to have his CAT scan done. We were watching for that report to come across, and we were planning ahead. What could the worst thing be? And we wanted to be proactive. We had already had a referral sent to South Carolina ENT, just anticipating the worst. And sure enough, I was able to make a call on that Friday morning and get an appointment set up with Dr. Pachowski on March 29th. Now, mind you, this started on March 2nd. And in 27 days, we had him in with a specialty provider. We had a lot of things going on all at one time. Several players were all participating because we knew this was going to be big. The next day, Mr. Driggers was diagnosed with a significant cancer in his throat and neck, and they immediately referred Mr. Driggers to Dr. Riviera. Dr. Rivera was patiently waiting on all these Prisma patient assistants to come into place, to the point that she had my cell phone and gave me hers and said, "Let me know as fast as I can schedule this." And this was really exciting to us, that there's a doctor that this patient means as much to her as he did to us. On May 3rd, Dr. Rivera did surgery on Mr. Driggers. I will tell you, the whole weekend of before May 3rd, we were all so worried about Mr. Driggers, and I remember praying for him, knowing May 2nd, he'll talk for the last time in his voice. Mr. Driggers completed 3 chemo treatments, 30 radiation treatments, and he said, and he wrote this down, Dr. Riviera told him that if he had been 1 week later in all the things that we had pulled together since March, if he had been 1 week later, he would have died. His life was saved by a lot of people that cared a lot and wanted things done like we wanted it done for our family. Ends up, Mr. Driggers had a negative PET scan, and that's one of those big tests that is an imaging test that's looking for other cancer that's hidden somewhere or somewhere out in the body. And Mr. Driggers reports a negative. He beat cancer. When I look back over the year, I think particularly for Mr. Driggers, if it hadn't been for a whole team of go-getters, he would have died. It's important to treat people like we want to be treated ourselves, like we want our families to be treated. I'm very, very, very thankful for what we do at the clinic.